It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. There has been a lot of blowback for Karen Bass in the weeks after the fire, but this weekend it seemed to have gotten to a whole other level where after a disastrous interview with Alex Michelson, after texts were revealed between Lindsay Horvath and Karen Bass talking about how this doesn't feel like we're locking arms and complaining to Karen Bass about the lack of coordination from her office, Karen Bass on Friday morning decided to shock even members of the city council by firing the LAFD chief, Kristen Crowley, without any warning, without any notice, throwing her under the bus for the entire debacle.
No!
Like it was Kristen Crowley who was grabbing Karen Bass and dragging her to the plane to Africa, kicking and screaming. Karen Bass had a press conference and was very, very, very testy with reporters, including one reporter. I can't figure out which outfit he identifies with, but I swear I recognize his voice. But he kept asking over and over and over again how Karen Bass doesn't get the same National Weather Service alerts that every single other person gets in the city. Not just elected officials, not just bureaucrats, not just city employees, but also the citizens, as in the everybody that knew that the weather was going to be awful on January 7th.
Thank you very much.
National Weather Service forecast at City Hall?
Thank you very much.
Do you? That's an important question.
No, she's not going to answer that question. She just wants to flood the zone and turn the page and make everyone just worry about the firing and not all the other mishaps. So let's figure it out. Let's find out exactly why Karen Bass thought, oh, I've got to fire the fire chief now. What did she do? Here is Karen Bass on Friday morning.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. Acting in the best...
No wonderful way to start your day? I thought that's how she starts every single press conference.
What a wonderful way to start your day. Good afternoon. Acting in the best interest of Los Angeles public safety and for the operations of the Los Angeles Fire Department, I just met with Chief Crowley and removed her as fire chief.
Didn't fire her exactly. She got demoted. There might be some civil service issues if she fired her completely, but a little weird, a little strange, and I'm sure there's more to come. I'm sure there's a tell-all book and a lawsuit, and the union's not happy because they're all throwing her under the bus like it's the fire department's fault for having their budget cut. It's the fire department's fault that LADWP didn't fix a whole bunch of fire hydrants. It's the fire department's fault that a whole bunch of fire trucks have been sitting in maintenance bays for months and months and months because there are no mechanics to fix them.
I have appointed a 41-year veteran of the fire department, former Chief Deputy Ronald Villanueva, as interim fire chief. He is respected and ready to hit the ground running. So let me be clear.
Nobody wants to do that job right now. Nobody wants to be the person that replaces that person.
Our firefighters acted heroically during the Palisades fire, and they act heroically every single day. That is without question.
But Kristen Crowley just happened to tell Fox 11 that part of the problem was our budget got cut, and I can't be having that. Kristen Crowley also famously, when she first got the job, appointed by then Mayor Garcetti, admitted to the press that over half of all the fires every single day that the LAFD has to deal with are started by homeless people in homeless encampments.
Bringing new leadership to the fire department is what they and the people of Los Angeles deserve.
Did you check with the union on that one?
As you know, I have called for a full investigation of everything leading up to January 7th.
In fact, she told Alex Michelson she wants to investigate why she went to Ghana, why all her staffers let her go to Ghana, why the fire chief let her go to Ghana. So either two things happen, right? Because I cannot believe for the life of me that she was completely unaware that the weather was going to be terrible. Everybody knew that. We've gotten so many emails from people that listen to this radio station in other states. They knew about it. So nobody's buying the she didn't know. Either she didn't know and didn't care because she wanted to go to the fancy party and she wanted to be on the world stage because, oh, the Biden administration asked me to go represent them. Or she is running an organization inside that mayor's office that nobody feels brave enough to question her, even when she does something that's so obviously politically dumb.
A necessary step to the investigation was the president of the Fire Commission telling Chief Crowley to do an after-action report on the fires.
Okay. Fire Commission is not the fire department. The Fire Commission is not the fire union. The Fire Commission is like the police commission. These are made up of appointees from the mayor's office designated to mold those agencies in the way they want them to. For many years, the police commission handicapped LAPD, and this has happened in San Francisco, this has happened in Oakland as well, to stop the officers from being able to do their jobs in some name of justice. Well, I can only imagine the things that the Fire Commission wants to do. But what they wanted is they wanted Kristen Crowley to write a report blaming herself for Karen Bass's ineptitude. That would be the only reason she would refuse to do the report, is because she knew she was about to get thrown under the bus.
Was the president of the Fire Commission telling Chief Crowley to do an after-action report on the fires?
There's something going on here. Karen Bass does not like Kristen Crowley. She didn't like her when she was in there, and she didn't like her when she told Gigi Graciette that, yes, the budget cutting played an issue. She didn't like that. She's not playing ball. She's not thanking Karen Bass for her leadership.
The fire chief refused. We all know.
Why else would the fire chief refuse a report on what happened of the most devastating fire that's ever happened in this city?
We all know.
Unless she knew it was a setup.
We all know that 1,000 firefighters that could have been on duty on the morning the fires broke were instead sent home on Chief Crowley's watch.
And the fire union responded to that specific claim saying, yes, that's because the fire trucks are in maintenance. We don't have enough of them because your budget cuts cut all the mechanics, so there's nobody to fix the fire trucks. We have broken and derelict equipment. We've already discussed ad nauseum the 1,300 fire hydrants that LAFD reported last year that the DWP was supposed to fix, and they just didn't. And the DWP, when asked about it, said, no, we didn't get any requests for broken fire hydrants. People are literally stealing them. You're not getting any requests for them? Not buying that one.
These actions required her removal. While the department is in the experienced and expert hands of Chief Villanueva, my office will lead.
What did this guy have to promise to get the appointment?
My office will lead a national search, and I will speak directly with firefighters and Angelenos about what they want to see in the next fire chief.
How about what they want to see in the next mayor?
I will use a similar process.
Everybody is a failure here except for me, except for the person at the top who the buck stops with that left town and is blaming everybody for it.
I will use a similar process.
A what?
I will use a similar process.
Similar? Is that a word?
As I did.
Could be. I'm not the smartest guy. I'm in radio.
I will use a similar process as I did in searching for our police chief. The business of the fire department and the city will continue. Our heroic firefighters.
Now everyone's really afraid to speak out or they're going to get fired. Or again, she didn't get fired. She got demoted. She's still working there. That's so uncomfortable.
Our heroic firefighters are on the job in our firehouses, engines, trucks, and ambulances. The recovery of the Palisades is months ahead of expectations. Los Angeles is moving forward on all fronts, and we will keep moving forward together.
We're all doing such a great job. We're united. Please thank me for my leadership. Unfortunately for Karen Bass, there were quite a few questions at this press conference, and she refused to answer a bunch of them. And the ones she did answer, it didn't go great. Let's hear what Karen Bass had to say about what exactly Kristen Crowley did that endangered public safety.
What specifically did she do to endanger public safety?
Well,
and again, I'm going to point this out every time until it's fixed. It's 2025. This state is the technology capital of the country. This city is the entertainment capital of this country. How can we not have a microphone for the reporters? How hard is this? Oh, unless it's by design because they don't want you to hear the questions.
Well,
you know what Garcetti used to do? He used to, during all those daily COVID briefings, where he would start with all the nonsensical rhymes and all the freaking yoga that he loved to give out to everybody.
You give us the supply, we'll meet the need by July.
In order to get all of the local stations to duck out before questions, he would do statements in Spanish before questions. And that may have worked for live television news broadcasts who've got to get back to everything else. Didn't work for me because I'll record on it and play it later. And I did it every time.
Well, as I mentioned, 1,000 firefighters who could have been on the job fighting the fires were sent home.
Why was that?
The other thing that I mentioned is that I said after the fires were out, after the rain had stopped, that a full investigation would begin.
Oh, so she wanted to fire her the first week, including that day where everyone, including Daniel Gus, reported that she was about to get fired, but realized it would look really bad to do it right now. So she waited a month, and then she did it.
One step of that investigation was to do an after-action report, of which she refused.
This doesn't seem like a whole lot of dead to rights. This person's such a danger to our livelihoods that we got to get rid of her. Also, we didn't fire her, we just demoted her.
So we knew the 1,000 firefighters could have been called in the day after the fire. What changed?
What changed?
Because you said you weren't planning on firing her on January 11th.
Oh, I love this. I love that the press is holding her feet to the fire. She got a pass for the first 2 years, and she did not deserve one. Even you always want to be supportive of any new administration because, you want everyone to succeed because if they succeed, we succeed. And you don't want to grade somebody on the past, but it's not looking good for Karen Bass.
Let me
2026, if you want to run for mayor, you might have a good shot here.
Let me just be clear. As I just said, while Los Angeles was on
When she gets nervous, she starts banging the podium with her fist.
while Los Angeles was on fire, after that we had rains. I was not
She didn't fire the fire chief because it got leaked that she was gonna fire the fire chief.
I was not going to do anything while we were in a state of emergency. Next.
Are we still in a state of...
So somebody did such a bad job, according to Karen Bass, that she cannot be in charge when there's an emergency. I'm not going to fire her until the emergency's over.
Are we still in a state of emergency?
No, we are not in a state of emergency right now. Next question.
Buckle up, everybody. Sit tight. We have a lot of sound from this press conference and reaction from members of the city council who were blindsided by this decision, including Tracy Park, whose district is the Palisades, who is probably the point person for all of this stuff. Karen Bass showed up at this press conference with Hugo Soto freaking Martinez and Marquise and Adrian Nazarian, but not Tracy Park. She found out about it when you found out about it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. Why do you think Karen Bass fired the fire chief? 800-222-KABC is the phone number. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Why do you think Karen Bass fired Fire Chief Kristen Crowley? Do you think it was incompetence or was it retaliation for speaking out against her? 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. Why do you think Karen Bass fired the fire chief? And hey, if you happen to work for LAFD, you get some inside info, call and use a fake name. I would love to hear from you. 800-222-KABC. Karen Bass was asked at the press conference on Friday about her meeting with Kristen Crowley. Let's hear what she had to say.
Mayor.
Yes.
The chief, I assume you met, I assume this is not a decision you made this morning. When did you meet with Chief Crowley, former Chief Crowley?
About an hour ago.
And how did the meeting go?
It was very brief.
And
Cold.
And
Not even a hi, how are you?
And did she tell you anything about why she did what she did?
It was a very brief meeting, no.
You're gone. You're done. Except I can't fire you, so you're demoted.
And the investigation that she didn't participate in.
Yes.
How did she not participate exactly?
Well, what I said is that the president of the Fire Commission told her to do a after-action report. She refused to do the report.
Did she give a reason for refusing?
Next.
Every single line that's coming out of this does not sound good. I need to investigate why I was going to Ghana. We wanted the chief to sign this report. It all sounds like covering up something, except we know what she's covering up, that she made an incredibly stupid decision to go to Ghana. So she either didn't realize that it was a bad time for the mayor of Los Angeles to be out of town, or she didn't care. She'd rather be on the world stage because she's got too big of a head to want to do the day-to-day job of being a mayor, of dealing with making sure all your ducks in a row, making sure the fire department has everything they need when there's an emergency situation. It's not looking good for Karen Bass. Karen Bass was also asked about exactly where the breakdown of coordination is between her office and the fire department.
You have said that Chief Crowley does not call and inform your office ahead of time as they have done with previous fires. I'm wondering, what's the person they called before previous fires? Your Deputy Mayor of Public Safety, Brian Williams, who's on leave.
So it's hard to hear because, once again, they don't mic the reporters here. But the reporter asked Karen Bass, so what's the protocol? Because you say that Crowley never called you about the weather. They usually call you? Do they call your deputy mayor? Fun fact, her deputy mayor is currently on leave because he got indicted for calling in bomb threats. That's the deputy mayor of public safety. What if that was the guy they called, but he obviously didn't answer because that guy's got his own problems?
What I can tell you is that what has happened in the 2+ years I've been here, every time there was a weather emergency or even a hint of a weather emergency, the chief has called me directly. She has my cell phone.
Did you pick up? Did you let it go to voicemail?
She has my cell phone.
What if she was on the phone with Biden when Biden was asking her, can you go to Africa for me? I don't want to go. Can you go do something that Kamala doesn't want to do because she's on her finding myself vacation? Can you go? And she saw call waiting. It's Kristen Crowley. And she said, send a voicemail. What if that's what happened?
She has my cell phone. She knows she can call me 24/7. And she briefed me, and then we would talk about what needed to happen next. That did not happen this time.
She didn't call me. I didn't know it was going to be bad. I had no idea. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. 1-800-222-5222. Why do you think Karen Bass decided to fire the fire chief on Friday? 800-222-KABC. Is this retaliation or is this incompetence? 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Jeff in L.A. Jeff, hello.
Hi, Randy. How are you?
Doing great.
Oh, thanks for taking my call. I'm a retired member of the Los Angeles Fire Department. I was chief officer when I retired. I know Kristen personally. She's more than capable, more than competent. This is absolute retaliation. The mayor is trying to cover her ass. I'm one of the very few members of the department that still live in the city, so I feel like I have some more skin in the game when it comes to what's happening in the city, not only politically, but with our fire protection. And I felt very confident with Kristen at the helm. I'm not so confident with this woman as our mayor. And I think what we're seeing is just another example of a Democrat who has gone from job to job to job, continually kicked the can down the road. She was obviously a member of the state legislature in Congress, comes into the city of Los Angeles, supposedly going to solve homelessness. Nobody would ask her what she's done about homelessness in the past or any of the other problems. We've seen her post on X. She knew about the wind events. She posted about them. And she needed nothing more than what she knew prior to leaving for Ghana. So this is purely retaliation, and I hope that Kristen takes this a little further. The one thing that Kristen has going against her is that she's very smart, very competent, very qualified, and she promoted up through the ranks very, very rapidly. She doesn't have a lot of time on the job, and I don't know if she's going to stick around. She's going to have to make that decision. That'll be obviously between her and her family. But this is ridiculous what's happening, and I hope the people of Los Angeles remember this in 2026, and they rethink voting for this woman as our mayor for a second term.
I think you make some really strong points, and I really appreciate the insight. And I just have a feeling, because I know a lot of scandals happen and a lot of things go away and we get distracted, but every aspect of Karen Bass's response in the last 2 months has just been insane. And this just adds to it. It looks like somebody that is panicking, and it completely looks like, if it looks like retaliation from my end and it looks like retaliation from your end, and you know a lot more about this than I do, I think to the average voter, they can see what's going on here. This is Karen Bass trying to blame somebody for her faults because she abandoned the city when they needed her most.
You're absolutely right, Randy, about that. And for the union, for Freddie Escobar to come out and support Kristen the way that the union has, the way the union leadership has, says something. Absolutely says something. Because normally, as you're probably well aware with your time here in Los Angeles reporting on these stories, the union is not always, in lockstep with management. But obviously they support her. And for them to come out and say what they've said against the mayor should really resonate with the people of Los Angeles.
It really does. And it shows that, there's not a united front defending Karen Bass, and the union should be speaking out loud every single day about what exactly was the reasoning behind this. Why did she make this decision without even telling Tracy Park, the city council person for the Palisades? And there's so many other questions. This story's not going away anytime soon. Jeff, thank you so much for the call and for your insight. Call back anytime, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you, Randy. Have a good
Thank you. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. 1-800-222-5222. Why do you think Karen Bass fired Chief Crowley? 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. We talk about the local issues that matter to you most, and we take your phone calls. We take your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com. And hey, you want to get the podcast of this show? Go to kabc.com/newsblitz. All the links are there. And a picture of me that is so outdated. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Why do you think Karen Bass fired LAFD Chief Crowley? 800-222-KABC. Let's start with Janice in Torrance. Janice, hello.
Hi, Randy. My point, I'm no Karen Bass fan. However, she keeps complaining that the chief never told her there was a weather event or this could be problematic. But I'm not sure Chief Crowley knew it was going to be problematic. She did not pre-deploy any of the available 40 engines to the Palisades area to patrol the area and try to put out fires before they became unmanageable. Number two, she didn't hold over the shift. She had 1,000 firefighters, but I don't know how many firefighters you need for 40 available engines, but she didn't do that either, and I have never saw a response or even the question posed to her and what her response would be. Have you?
I haven't. Do you find it interesting that Karen Bass didn't use any of that when she said she fired her? She said, it's because she wouldn't do a report on the stuff I wanted her to say.
And I respect Chief Crowley for that. The only interviews that I saw or things written in the Times were that, but that was in response to a direct question. Did the budgetary, restraints, hamper your response? And she finally said yes. She never said it again, but maybe that's what they wanted in the report, and she just wasn't going to do that. We're never going to know until we see this alleged report.
I think you're totally right about that. Thanks so much for the call, Janice. Appreciate it. Look, the fire chief definitely have things to answer for because it was the most devastating fire that we ever saw. But I don't know if the mayor gets to just throw all the blame on the chief, demote her, and claim, oh, it's all great now. I have no blame. It's not on me. Thank me for my leadership. Let's go to Bill in La Cañada. Bill, hello.
Randy, I'm going to read you a couple statements, and you tell me if somebody is lying. First one, the fire department budget cuts were insignificant. Is that true or false?
False.
Okay. Nobody told me about the winds. True or false?
False.
The MTA is safe to ride.
False.
Somebody stole 2 handguns from locked boxes inside my home. I wonder how they got those open.
Oh, I forgot about that one. Oh, Karen Bass has been fascinating for a while now, hasn't she?
And last one. Look, everybody, here's a blank USC application form. So my $95,000 scholarship from the same lady who's doing jail time for bribing Mark Ridley Thomas is legitimate.
Oh, and there's that scandal as well. Well, I sure hope whoever is running for mayor against her in 2026 remembers all of those things and does something about it. Thank you so much for the call, Bill. Appreciate it. Let's go to a different Bill. Bill in Orange County. Bill, hello.
Get that table in the house.
Hey, Bill.
Yes.
Hey, you're on the radio.
Hi, I'm Bill from Coto de Casa, Orange County.
Yeah, what's going on?
Well, the reason Karen Bass fired the fire chief lady was because she could.
Just because she could.
There you go. If
she definitely could.
If she couldn't, she wouldn't. And if she couldn't, without having approval from all the city council or whatever, she wouldn't have done that. Now the city's going to face a big lawsuit. And you know what? I don't live in that city. Bon voyage. Have a nice time. Sorry.
I totally understand having that sentiment when you live in beautiful Coto de Casa. Thank you so much for the call, Bill. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. 1-800-222-5222. Why do you think Karen Bass fired Kristen Crowley? 800-222-KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC. Why do you think Karen Bass fired the fire chief? 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Harold in Porter Ranch. Harold, hello.
Hey, how's it going? How are you doing today?
Doing great.
So obviously anger and to cover her you-know-what. But this is a question that all of Los Angeles needs to ask themselves. What if this had been the big one, the big earthquake, or even a Northridge-sized earthquake? No warning, and who knows what would have happened. It's her job to lead. That's why she is the mayor of Los Angeles. And God forbid that the big one happens like an 8.0 earthquake. You saw what happened at Palisades and Altadena. That's all I got to say. And P.S.
That is,
I'm familiar with training as far as urban and wildland interface is concerned. It's a wildland firefighters term, and this is exactly what happened.
I think you make a really good point, Harold. Thanks so much for the call. That's something so interesting to think about. Fire has become such a thing that we think about all the time. I sometimes forget that we live in earthquake country. And I lived through the 94 earthquake. I was 9 years old. But yeah, With the current management that we have in charge of the city, do you think the freeway would be rebuilt as quickly as it was in 94 if something happened like that? It's a really good point. Yeah, this isn't looking good on Karen Bass, and this firing is not making it look any better. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. More of your calls coming up next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's go back to the phones and go to Rose in Marina. Rose, hello.
Hi, Randy. The previous caller, Bill from La Cañada, not the one from Orange County who thinks he has no problems because he lives in Orange County, but the one from La Cañada, he spelled out all of the things that Bass has gotten away with no one calling her out on. And in my opinion, when Crowley called her out publicly, that was the end of Crowley, because Bass, the way she operates, is not going to allow anyone to do that to her. And it was just a matter of time before Crowley lost her job. And in my opinion, it's because Crowley did what all other people have not done, including all the city council people, the board of supervisors women, and the El Segundo Times. Nobody calls her out. And when Crowley did, that was it. And I don't know if Crowley is 100% innocent in this, but I do know one LA Fire Department captain who lived in the terrace on PCH, Tahiti Terrace. He was off duty on the day of the fire. I mean, what fire captain fire chief allows any fire captain to be off duty during the fire? It doesn't make any sense to me. So there's a lot of blame to go around, but calling out Bass publicly was not a smart move for Crowley if she wanted to keep her job.
I think that is the main reason behind this. And what's interesting, thanks so much for the call, Rose, is since then we have seen two members of the city council specifically do what they usually don't do and speak out against Karen Bass. That's Monica Rodriguez and now Tracy Park. We'll play some of that sound on Johnny's show tomorrow. Garrett and Whittier. Garrett, hello.
Yeah, Randy, you know what? Poop rolls downhill, and Mayor Bass was completely incompetent in a way in Ghana, and the fire chief already knew what was coming. She held out for as long as she could, and then she knew the chopping block was on the table. That's when she spilled the beans and told the truth and had the meeting with the press and showed all the memos of all the things that she needed to fight these fires. And she made Bass look completely incompetent, which she is.
And she's not looking any better by retaliating against her for it. Thanks so much for the call, Garrett. Appreciate it. Like, if this story was supposed to make you put all the blame on the chief and none of the blame on Karen Bass, I don't know anybody that has seen this story and thinking that way. Let's go to Lawrence in Cerritos. Lawrence, hello.
Good evening. And yes, to your point, all her PR damage control, it's just making her look worse. And if you look at any fundamental of leadership, you can delegate authority, but ultimate accountability comes down on the commander-in-chief, the captain of a vessel, or the mayor of our wonderful city. And I think she's just being it's another version of her playing the Teflon princess card, if that makes sense. There's a lot of problems that need to be looked at. She's just trying to do an initial damage control, and like all of her other evaluations, she's just doing this incorrectly and wrong as well. I really appreciate your show, by the way, and thanks for taking the time for my call.
Well, thank you so much for calling in. Call back anytime, Lawrence. I appreciate it. Great calls, everybody. Yeah, I don't see how this makes her look any better. She did not explain what the imminent threat to our safety was, that she needed to demote the chief, but not outright fire her. She's still working at the department. I feel like there's a lot more to be said about this. Tracy Park went on KTLA today, and she is now going off on the mayor about this. Maybe we'll hear some more about this at the city council meeting tomorrow. We're going to be covering this in all aspects of the fire response because Karen Bass is imploding in real time. The press doesn't seem as afraid of her as they used to be. Members of the local government, including city council, don't seem as afraid of her as they used to be. And maybe, just maybe, people will think differently when they vote in March of 2026, which is right around the corner. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Call us any day that you want to talk and you want to blast away about what's going on in Southern California. We're here for you. If you ever miss an episode of the show, you can download it at kabc.com/newsblitz. And I'll see you tomorrow for another wonderful episode of the News Blitz. We're here every single day, 5 to 6, talking about the local issues that matter to you most. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC.